day we've all been waiting for finally arrived. Halo Infinite's long talked about flight testing was released this past week.
And it's gone.
While it was short-lived, it was an incredible amount of fun to finally play. Now, before we begin, remember, if you enjoy the content, please don't forget to hit them like and subscribe buttons. It means a lot, and you can stay up to date with the latest Halo videos. To start the flight, 343 provided us with some fake money to spend on the battle pass and a variety of bundles to get a feel. So, as with any game, the first thing I wanted to do was to get stuck into the customization to see what we can actually do to our Spartans to make them look as badass as possible. Now, as you can see, flicking through, there is quite a fair bit you can change, each with its own colour scheme, or as it's now called, coating. Majority were locked, obviously, but you can see the potential for future skins and armour sets down the road. It was pretty similar to the current iteration of customization in the Master Chief Collection. Overall though, there is plenty of choice to keep everyone looking unique. Along with the new armor prosthetics feature, which usually to get prosthetics in the previous games you would have to buy a specific armor piece, and it was only usually in Reach. Now it's actually an entire feature. This adds even more options, but the one thing that caught my eye was the fact that you could change the color and shape of your personal AI. I do remember 343 saying you could choose from the preset voices also, which if added would be a great addition. Lastly, we got to see the weapons bench, where you can choose the coatings for all of your weapons, alongside the vehicle bay where you can do the same. We didn't get a chance to see the new Wasp and Razorback in action, but we did get close-up visuals here. The usual suspects, the Warthog and the Rocket Hog, were featured, along with the Gunner Mongooses. Obviously names like the Banshee and Ghost were missing, but they're expected to come in the future. Hopefully on the next flight or beta, they include some PvP big team battle, so we can give these things a test drive. Now, the flight only featured 3 maps and 1 game mode, Bot Slayer, literally slaying bots as they increased in difficulty each day, then eventually a couple hours of PvP at the end. The first map was Live Fire, probably my least favourite of the 3 featured, but it was a solid map nonetheless. CTF, in my opinion, could be a fantastic mode for it with how it's designed. 3 channels and a couple of shortcuts throughout made it simple to navigate and kept the action fast-paced and at a constant. The second map, Recharge, was a lot of fun. It's also the first time we got to go with the grapple shot like in the trailer. A map designed to push everything to its centre, with a large open space in the middle to cause chaos. Now, with more playtime and experimentation, this could provide to be a future favourite for the grapple shot and the repulsor, which we didn't get to see in the beta. Now again, objective modes will thrive in this setting. Map 3 Bazaar was the final one released and definitely my favourite of the 3. This perfectly symmetrical map was based on New Mombasa in Halo 2, which many found familiar. Large giant gates lead to the middle of the map with an alleyway around the side and several little buildings to run through, providing a lot of ways to push opposing players and will certainly be a favourite within competitive play. Outside of the Bot Slayer mode, 343 gave us the Academy to test and try all of the weapons available. Now, while I know this won't be all of the guns featured within the game, they did let us play around with some new and classic ones. Now, in terms of the new weapons, first up we have the new Ravager. Now, this was a pulse weapon of the brutes, which you could actually charge up as seen here in the video and then release. Now, it is actually quite powerful, so I'm looking forward to giving that more of a dabble in future gameplay. Second up, we obviously have the Skewer. Now, this thing is basically the brute sniper rifle. It hits extremely hard, and obviously in the trailer you've seen it take out vehicles. The only downside is the reload time, and you have to zoom out to be able to reload. Next in line, you've got the Heat Wave, the bullets that ricochet off walls and your surrounding areas. Now, you can actually change the fire shape from horizontal to vertical. Lots of different ways you can use this weapon. It's not the most powerful, but it'll be interesting to see how players use it when the full game releases. The good old faithful AR has actually had quite a buff from the previous years. It does serious damage up close, and mid-range it is actually quite viable. In fact, it does have a quicker time to kill than the battle rifle, so I expect it to get a slight nerf upon release. Another new addition, the Pulse Carbine, which was very popular among a lot of players. This particular gun hits very hard at all sorts of ranges. The only difficulty would be when someone is straight in, the bullets tend to stray. But overall, it's a solid gun, and it'll be interesting to see how the competitive scene utilizes it. The good old trusty staple battle rifle made a return, and boy was it fun to use. It might actually be my favorite battle rifle in the entire series. I haven't seen any negative comments towards it so far, only the fact the AR can actually beat it at mid-range. Overall, the gun is fantastic. It handles well, the reticle's classic, it just hits hard and does its job. 4 shots and the enemy is down. Outside of the battle rifle, the gun I actually used the most during this flight was the Commando, a fully automatic assault rifle that hits pretty hard, 7 bullets in the head and the enemy is down. Now, the gun itself does have a slight kick and recoil, so if you're having fire incoming, you need to be able to control that, so there is a skill gap involved with this gun. But again, it's a great addition to the sandbox, and it'll be interesting to see how players use it going forward. A lot of players coming over from Halo 5 were worried the pistol, which is now a fan favorite on that game, would be nerfed into the ground, but overall the gun fires fast, it handles quick, it's going to be a great gun to have as a sidearm in the competitive scene. Now, the plasma pistol itself hits extremely hard for what it is. It actually surprised me how powerful this gun is. I'm hoping they tone it down a little bit, because essentially you could down someone in 6 or 7 bullets, which is essentially the same as the Commando and slightly OP. The Bulldog, the standard shotgun throughout the Halo series, comes back with a new skin and new name, but it still hits the same. The gun is powerful, up close it's still going to wreck shop, and I imagine it will be the perfect counter to anybody carrying an energy sword. Now, while I don't want to touch too much on the gameplay, as that will be discussed in length in my next video, I do want to touch base on some of the equipment we got to use. First up, the active camo and overshield. Nothing new to the sandbox, everyone's familiar, but now it's an item you pick up and carry with the ability to equip on command. There is now an animation, which is pretty cool, and the change in your heads up display on the outskirts is a nice touch. I think it's safe to say the grapple shot is probably the most popular item used within the flight. We got to use the new drop wall, which was highly talked about. It's not as overpowered as some may think. It's fairly easy to destroy the individual panels, and it does actually have one-way fire. So yeah, again, could provide useful. Lastly, we got to see the threat sensor. As you can see, it reveals enemies' locations akin to the Promethean vision in Halo 4. I definitely prefer it being equipment based, not loadout based, so people can't just spam it the whole game. I think it will be a nice addition to the sandbox overall. Now that's all for this video, guys. In the next one, I am going to talk about my thoughts on Halo Infinite, what to expect upon release, and touch base on the gameplay in a lot more depth. Thank you for watching, and as always, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe buttons already, please go back and do so. Until next time, stay frosty.